Hi everybody, welcome to this online module, Managing Tutoring Effectively for VoRTCS. This is one of two next step training sessions that have been developed for current VoRTCS tutors. This video is designed to be used in conjunction with a Managing Tutoring Effectively workbook. As we go through the training today, I'll be telling you to stop and pause when elements of the workbook relate to what I'm discussing on screen. In this way you can conduct some reflective activities alongside me as I talk you through the process of managing tutoring effectively. As a VoRTCS home tutor, your role is to assist refugee families to take up the educational, vocational and social opportunities that exist in Australian society. It is to provide community support, enhance English language skills, and it's to encourage and support refugee families to contribute to Australian society and to reach their full potential. This is the way that VoRTCS and St Vincent de Paul Society Queensland see your role as a tutor. And these are the key long-term outcomes that is hoped to achieve in delivering the home tutoring program, even though you may see a whole variety of other things that are important to you and the family that you work with. One of the most important things that should guide the process of managing tutoring effectively is planning to meet these broad and long-term outcomes in conjunction with your tutor team and tutor family. But it's not only important to understand how we can work towards these outcomes, but also how we can do it in a way that meets the individual needs and goals of your family and fits in with your style of tutoring. In order to make these next step training sessions applicable to tutors, before we develop this training, we asked you to tell us some of the factors that are challenging in managing tutoring effectively. Some of the key things that you wanted to learn were ways to monitor with the family whether their goals for tutoring are being met or not met, how to do a review after starting with the family, how to figure out what level the family's at in terms of what they needed, and how to set specific expectations for the family, engaging with them when they don't want to learn or dealing with unforeseen circumstances that may create a setback in learning. These issues may resonate with you as a tutor, but even if they don't, having a clear sense of planning towards the eventual graduation of your family and being able to be flexible, responsive and sensitive in your tutoring requires thinking about and planning to actively manage your tutoring. Taking the time to do this will improve your service practice and help you keep on top of the demands on your time as an individual as well as a tutor. A major factor in tutoring is understanding that although there are long-term outcomes for what we want to help families achieve, we can't do this all at once. We need to break down outcomes into goals, which in turn are achieved by developing manageable objectives and associated actions. A goal is a plan for the future that a person or group of people envisions, plans and commits to achieve, whereas an objective is something concrete that you intend to achieve during a specific time period towards a particular desired outcome. For instance, your goal may be to enable your family to be confident in conversational English, but an objective could be enabling an individual to master a smaller task, like ordering dinner at a restaurant. In the first activity, I'd like you to think about what are your and your team's goals. How can you develop objectives in order to achieve your goals? How will meeting the goals you set for your family result in long-term outcomes set by VoRTCS? And do these meet the assumptions and expectations of your family? In a moment, I'm going to get you to pause this video and take out your workbook. Go to question number 1 and you'll see that there are 3 spaces for you to insert answers to the following questions. What are your and your team's current goals for your family? What are the short-term objectives that you're working towards to meet these goals? What specific actions are you taking in tutoring right now in line with your objectives and goals? Pause the video, and once you're finished filling this out, please start the video again. Although it may seem obvious, it's important to think about how what you're doing on a weekly basis is going to get you and the family where you want to be. It's easy to be reactive and only deal with issues as they arrive, but by being proactive and engaging in effortful planning, you can help ensure that you know where you're going and able to check whether you're on course regardless of what happens. This is the best thing to help you deal with some of the ups and downs of tutoring and some of those unexpected moments that may disrupt learning. Managing tutoring effectively is all about figuring out where you want to be and how you're going to get there. I'm now going to take you through 5 key steps which will help you put this into practice. The 5 steps that I'm going to be talking about are part of a cycle. They start with assessment, go to planning, action, reflection, evaluation and back again. I'm going to go through these in detail over the next few slides, and associated with each step is a component for you to fill out in the workbook. The cycle doesn't have to start at the very beginning when you meet a family. It can start any time in the tutoring process. So don't worry if you've been tutoring a family for a while and haven't done this. It's able to begin at any time. In general, the first step is assessment, which really means asking ourselves, where are we right now and what needs to be done? Take out your workbook and answer the questions related to assessment. What are each individual's needs, barriers and resources? What do I know and not know about the context right now? And how can I get the information I need to make an accurate assessment? Pause the video for a moment and fill these out. Once you're done, start the video again. By engaging in assessment, we're setting a baseline so that we know where we currently are and in the future can see how far we've come. Without assessing the current situation, you can't keep track of the progress that you've made. To do good assessment, you need good information. So in this situation, it's really important to begin to know each and every one of your family members and understand what they all need in order to make your tutoring the most effective. If you know you don't have enough information about the people in your family to make an accurate assessment, then you need to start thinking about ways you're going to get this information. You can do this by doing your own research, talking with other tutors, and discussing it directly with the family. In this step, it's really important to be honest with yourself about what you do and don't know, and to check the assumptions that you're making. The next part of the cycle is planning, in which we ask ourselves, how are we actually going to carry out our tutoring sessions effectively? Take out your workbook again and answer the questions related to planning. When you're doing this, think about the very next session that you want to have with your tutor family. What's the purpose of the session? What would you like to achieve? Do you have the right resources? And if not, where can you find them? Again, pause this video for a moment and fill these out. Once you're done, start the video again. Whereas the first step is all about taking stock of where you are, planning is about meeting your objectives. It's mainly focused on short-term things so that you remain flexible and can deal with inevitable ambiguities. Just remember, planning doesn't have to be very formal, but it can be if you want it to be. The key questions presented at the planning stage need to be asked at every single session you carry out. Is this type of planning something that you currently do, or is it something that you just want to do but feel you don't have time for? The time spent on planning is worth that effort. It doesn't have to take very long. It could simply be setting aside a few minutes in your car beforehand or writing down a few notes the night before a session. Also, planning shouldn't be a solo activity. It should include and be agreed upon among all tutor team members. The core part of tutoring is actually action, which are the things that you do which make a measurable difference in the lives of the families that you work with. You are the expert at your own tutoring actions, and each and every tutor will have unique strengths and weaknesses. So to discuss action, this section will assist you in engaging in reflective practice. Take out your workbook and answer the questions related to action. Think about how you feel about the way your current sessions are going with your tutor family. What difference do you feel like you're making by working with your family and why? And what are some of the most successful things that you've done in tutoring? Again, pause the video for a moment and fill these out. Once you're done, start the video again. This leads us into the next step, which is reflection, which is really about asking, how did our practice go? And in order to do that, I'd like you to think about your last tutoring session, take out your workbook and answer the questions related to reflection. What worked well this time? What didn't work well? What did we each learn? And what was surprising? Again, pause this video for a moment and fill these out. Once you're done, start the video again. Reflection is the key to good practice. It's how you learn, how you make improvements, and how you check your own approaches and assumptions. Reflection should also be based on the thoughts and feelings of everyone involved, meaning that it should include your team members and involve the family. Reflection is about coming to a common understanding of what is working well and what isn't, being honest about achievements, as well as being aware of difficulties. The last of the 5 steps is evaluation, which means to ask, are we on track? And if not, how do we change? Evaluation is all about reviewing what we've already done with a view to updating your knowledge and making even more effective plans going forward. Take out your workbook and answer the questions related to evaluation. Are we making progress? What evidence of change do we have? Should our approach be changed or should it remain the same? Again, pause this video for a moment and fill these out. Once you're done, start the video again. Evaluation doesn't need to happen very often, unlike planning and reflection. It really needs to happen at major milestones or on some regular basis that you decide. Think about including evaluations into your team planning sessions and into some key discussions that you're having with your family. When you're evaluating your practice, if you find out that you're actually doing the things that you want to do, this can be a good indicator that we shouldn't change. You might actually be making more effective progress than you think you are, but if you haven't engaged in the previous steps, then it can be hard to evaluate effectively. That's why evaluation doesn't work by itself, nor do any of the other stages. They work together, they're part of a process, but that process doesn't have to be linear, it's iterative. So maybe in each session you would plan, take action, and then reflect on an ongoing basis. But if you're having difficulties, maybe you need to assess or evaluate, make some changes, and then reflect again. These stages all work together and should be taken together rather than treated separately. Finally, we're going to have a brief discussion on some important tools for effective tutors and then conduct a checklist exercise. As a current tutor, you probably already have a lot of teaching, learning and social tools to help you with tutoring, which may be one of the reasons why you're currently working with refugee families. The tools presented here are simply options that you can think about employing if you don't already. The first one is a journal. It could be anything that you put together in order to create a narrative or story of your tutoring. This could eventually be something that you give back to the family as a memento, or it could just be something that you keep for yourself and share with your teammates to see how you're going. The second tool is actually more of a mindset than a tangible thing. It's your keen eye, or the way that you acquire information about your family using everyday psychology. How you understand the context of people's emotional reactions, their expressions, what they talk about, their interests. Pay attention to the everyday psychological elements of tutoring and use these to make your practice better. The third tool is your tutoring team, which is one of the most important tools for you as an effective tutor. Oftentimes, on our own, we won't be able to have an overall picture of what's going on, but in a team we get diverse thoughts, feelings and opinions that can help us solve problems. Don't just think about other tutors as part of your team either. St Vincent de Paul Society Queensland are also part of your team, as are the members of your family. Finally, the last tool is you and your own mental and physical health. Are you looking after yourself? Are you thinking about doing things to reduce your stress? Are you thinking about celebrating your successes? You as a tutor are the most important resource, so well done for completing this next step training course and thinking about some of these really important issues. The final activity in this module is a checklist for effective tutoring. If you answer no to any of these questions, you might want to think about how you can modify your practice in this area. Pause the video and fill out this checklist. Once you're done, start the video again. We've now come to the end of the session, so let's review what we learned. We learned that our actions and everything we do in tutoring should be in service of objectives, and these must relate to long-term outcomes. Knowing where we want to go and whether we're on track to get there is the most important thing to achieve success in the long run. Effective tutoring follows a dynamic process including assessment, planning, action, reflection and evaluation. And you can do any or all of these at any point in your tutoring with the family. It doesn't have to be at the beginning or at the end. Lastly, you need to develop your own tutor toolkit, which includes the things that make you unique, that work for you and work for your family to produce successful outcomes for everyone. Please visit the VoRTCS library and the Digital Resource Library on the VoRTCS website for more resources to help you with your tutoring. Thanks for your time. We hope you enjoyed this Next Steps training session and that it helps you manage your tutoring effectively in the future.